Source Vegan.com.
My life is full of adventure. I like to travel from time to time, and the holiday season was no exception. You might call me crazy, but in 12 days, I traveled from Virginia to New York, New York to Florida, Florida to New York, New York to Virginia, Virginia to Maryland, and Maryland to Virginia. During that time, I visited friends and family and attended a special meeting on New Year's Day. On December 20th, 2010, my journey started. Mr. Oscar Young was kind enough to drive me to Washington, D.C., where I would take the China bus to New York City. Although I was actually passing through to go upstate, I had to spend a few hours in the Big Apple taking in the sights and sounds. I went on the Staunton Island Ferry to see the Statue of Liberty. New York City has a special place in my heart. A few years ago, I spent some time in New York City working at a vegan restaurant. I loved interacting with customers and seeking to be a blessing to them. Yes, I now work in a vegan cafeteria in the country, but New York City and all the cities in America, I haven't forgotten you. After my trip on the ferry, I caught a metro to go to upstate New York, where I would spend some time with vegan cooking class expert Mrs. Marlene McKinney and her family before I would fly to Florida the next day. The next morning, she treated me to a vegan meal fit for a king. The rolls, the gravy, the muffins, the fruit, and everything was just perfect. I was then taken to the airport so I could fly to Tampa to see my family in Florida. I made one stop to the Philadelphia airport where I would eat my lunch. But I'm vegan. How could I eat my lunch in a strange airport thousands of miles away from the vegan cafeteria I work at? What was I to do?
Open Source Vegan.com.
Hello, my name is Franklin. I spent a 10-week internship working with the nice people at Wellness Secrets. If you're looking for health educators to come to your area, or if you want to attend their affordable 5-day lifestyle program, please call them at 479-752-8555 or visit them on the web at wellnesssecrets4u.com. That's Wellness Secrets, the number 4 and the letter U.com.
Open Source Vegan.com.
I had nothing to fear during my layover in the Philadelphia airport. Mrs. Marlene McKinney had thoughtfully prepared a nice vegan meal that I brought with me on the plane. As I ate my muffins, rolls, burgers, and salad, I thought to myself, wow, I am really eating too well while traveling. Thanks again, Mrs. Marlene McKinney, for that exceptional meal. I arrived in Tampa in the evening time, and I was picked up by a family member. The next day, I went through the freezer and refrigerator, and I found soy milk and vegan Boca burgers inside. Why? Some of my family members are vegetarians. In fact, I was raised a vegetarian for 19 years before I became a vegan over 6 years ago. It was so relaxing to spend time in Florida. When I was supposed to leave to fly back to upstate New York, my flight was delayed for about 3 days because of snowy weather. Who would have thought I would have snow days in Florida? This complicated my travel arrangements. I needed to get back to Virginia so I could start working again at my school's vegan cafeteria that I manage. Instead of spending more time with Mrs. Marlene McKinney and her family, I left the New York airport, took a metro to New York City, hopped in a China bus that took me from New York City to DC, and traveled with another staff member from DC to Virginia. I did all of this traveling in one day. I wanted to get back so I would be of assistance for lunch and the meal preparation that was needed before I and some students would attend a special meeting in Baltimore on New Year's called Generation of Youth for Christ. We traveled from Virginia to Baltimore early in the morning so we would be sure we wouldn't miss the presentations that Sabbath. I happened to be a part of America's longest living community, and the speaker for the morning was the president of this worldwide organization. Among his stirring appeals to give our lives for the service for Christ, he said, "Be good stewards of your body, consistently care for yourself according to God's practical and 8 natural remedies: a healthy vegetarian diet, consistent exercise, drinking enough water, adequate sunlight, abstaining from alcohol, tobacco, and illicit drugs, enjoying fresh air, getting appropriate rest and trust in divine power. In the afternoon, I, along with other attendees of GYC, filled 75 coach buses to share with the city of Baltimore about upcoming health seminars and vegetarian cooking classes in their area. We also gave people an opportunity to sign up for Bible studies. That night, I traveled back to Virginia to start my first full school quarter working as my school's food service manager. You would think that my exciting vegan journey was over, but it continues on
Open Source Vegan.com.
Want to learn more about health? OpenSourceVegan.com highly recommends you read the book, The Ministry of Healing.